When you're researching insulation, all of those numbers can be super overwhelming. You've got things like R value, charts, code requirements, and it can all seem like alphabet soup. Do all of those numbers really matter as much as you might think they do? I'm going to break down what the highest R value insulations are and what that means for you as the homeowner. So what does R value even do? Well, it measures heat transfer through conduction. What's conduction, you ask? It's a good thing I have a really great example. It's the dead of winter and you're outside and you decide that you need to take a seat on a bench. Not only does it instantly take about 10 years off of your life, but the heat of your body goes down into the bench, and that is conduction. It is heat loss through physical contact. When you sat on that cold bench, if you were just wearing leggings, it was a lot more shocking than if you were wearing a pair of jeans or even snow pants. The whole thing with R value is that the thicker the insulation is, the higher the R value, and the more that it slows heat transfer. Real quick, I'm going to break down for you the insulation R value per inch by material. Let's start with closed cell spray foam. That has an R value of R6 to R7 per inch. Foam board has R 4.5 to R5. RetroFoam injection foam has an R value of R 4.6 to R5. Open cell spray foam, R 3.6 to R 3.9 per inch. Cellulose is R 3.1 to R 3.8. Fiberglass bats, R 2.9 to R 3.8. And fiberglass loose fill has an R value of R 2.2 to 2.9. How much insulation do you need? Well, that's kind of a hard question for the simple fact that whatever climate zone that you live in is really what determines what R value you have to hit, which means how much insulation you need. If you live in like Texas or Florida, let's say you're adding insulation to your attic. In that case, you have to hit between an R30 and an R49. If you live someplace like Michigan or Wisconsin, you need to hit an R49 or an R60 or higher, depending on the climate zone. Traditional insulation, you can just add layer on layer on layer to finally hit that R value. Spray foam works differently, and I'm not going to jump into it just yet, but stick with me and I'll explain. Now, if you're considering insulation R value, and that is solely what you're looking at, you also have to keep in mind that there are factors out there that can change what the R value actually will end up being. Now, cold climates, when you're talking about insulation, doesn't seem like something that should affect R value, but it absolutely does. Some materials, if the temperature dips below 32 degrees, it actually makes it a less effective insulation material, and it will allow for more air movement. If for any reason that your insulation comes into contact with moisture, that is going to affect the insulation because you don't want it to get wet in the first place. But if it does end up getting wet, that's going to cause that ability to resist heat transfer to dip significantly. Finally, another thing that's going to play a role in the effectiveness of your insulation's R value is air movement. Something cool to keep in mind is that a product like RetroFoam specifically, the R value actually goes up in those colder temperatures. It goes from an R 4.6 to an R5 per inch. So does a higher R value mean that it's a better insulation? No, it doesn't, because R value doesn't measure for air sealing. With traditional insulation materials like fiberglass and cellulose, you can pile it on to finally hit a number. The air seal that foam insulation creates stops airflow. It stops those drafts, and it's going to make your home more energy efficient, even at a lower R value. The cool thing about foam insulation too is that when we talk about building code, you don't have to hit a specific number with foam insulation because it can actually pass code on its performance. To test the foam's performance, you can do a HERS index or a res check test. Both of those will show that the foam is working to make the home more efficient because there are no air leaks, and that will pass building code. The bottom line, R value only matters if you're considering traditional insulation materials like fiberglass, cellulose, or even foam board. Foam insulation creates an air seal, and those materials just can't create that. While foam insulation may not have the highest R value, but it delivers a better performance because of the air seal it creates. Comfort, efficiency, and science-backed testing is way more important than trying to chase the highest R value. So the next time you're out shopping for insulation and you see all of these things marketed as the highest R value, remember, That doesn't include any kind of air sealing. Now, if you want to learn more about how foam insulation can make your home more energy efficient with the air seal it creates, check out our Learning Center. There you're going to find tons of articles, videos, and resources to answer all of your foam insulation questions. I'm your building science brainiac, reminding you to bring a little science to every project.